thought for a second, with Bitcoin, all I have to do is generate a seed phrase, and I've got a functioning, effectively a bank account, not a bank account, but a Bitcoin wallet, a bank account in cyberspace. Now, I feel like I'm going back in time. I'm at the bank and they're asking me for all this information. I'm using a much less efficient, outdated technology. So that was quite interesting, is starting with Bitcoin and moving back. It's so clear to me that Bitcoin is better money, freedom money.
Today, I'm excited to welcome Cole, host of the Southern Bitcoiner on YouTube, all the way from Johannesburg, South Africa. Welcome to the Bitcoin Edge, Cole.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
It's good to see you. Tell us a little bit about yourself before Bitcoin. Where were you born? What did you study?
Yeah, so I was born in Johannesburg. I've lived all around South Africa. I've been in Durban. I've been in Cape Town. Right now I am in Joburg, but I'm constantly moving around. I'm quite young. I haven't lived a very long life. I didn't go to university. I just studied Bitcoin in my spare time. I landed a job in the Bitcoin space. So basically everything I do revolves around Bitcoin nowadays.
How wonderful. So what do you do in the Bitcoin space?
So I work for an exchange. They're based in New Zealand, actually, but they've opened a South African operation. And my role is customer facing. So I just need to ensure our customers are, setting up secure wallets. They're doing everything correctly. And there's a lot of scams in the Bitcoin space, plenty of them, constantly targeting people all across the planet. So we also just ensure that they are sending to their own self-custody and not a scammer's self-custody. So that's my main role is helping people do things correctly and securely.
Well, that's very needed. Tell us a little bit about your Bitcoin journey. How did you discover Bitcoin at such a young age?
Yeah, it's a funny story, actually. My best friend and we've always been quite entrepreneurial. And when we were very young, we'd go buy shoes and then flip them on the resale market. So some shoes are very rare and hyped up that when you buy them, they immediately sell out and you can sell them for a profit almost the same day. So we were doing that every Saturday. Not every Saturday. On Saturdays, we would go to the raffle. If you win the raffle, you buy the shoe and then you can flip it for a profit. We were doing that. Then my friend, we were still in high school at this time, started having, it's funny, cricket matches on Saturdays. So as a result, he could come with me to the raffles. And he thought, I need a new way to make money now. The shoe thing isn't going to work for me anymore. And then he was searching online, kind of looking at different ways to make money online. And he stumbled upon Bitcoin. He introduced me to Bitcoin. And ever since then, both of us have been, stumbling down this rabbit hole. Initially, it was a way to make money. And now it's kind of evolved into shaping the way we view the world and what we do in this world. Now our lives are basically both devoted to Bitcoin. So yeah, it's quite a funny story, but my friend went to cricket matches and that's why I'm into Bitcoin.
Well, yeah. I'm not going to comment on cricket, but we know the South African love cricket.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more though. Did you discover Bitcoin and get it right away? Did you read any books? Did you like the technology?
Yeah, so I didn't get it right away. No, my friend was into it first. He kind of had a grasp of it first, I think as well because his dad was involved in it. I think I started becoming very interested when I saw he's making a bit of money on this. So it was at first a money thing, how to make money. And he helped me, actually. He had some funds on an exchange. I gave him some cash and he bought my first Bitcoin for me. And then maybe a week or two later, I set up my first self-custody wallet, which is just a basic mobile wallet, which doesn't even exist today. And I withdrew to that wallet, and that's where my journey began. From there, I think I read a book called Crypto Assets. I wouldn't recommend reading it. This is when I first got involved. And that taught me a lot about the fundamentals of Bitcoin. And I think at that point, I also upgraded to my first hardware wallet. Then I got involved in Twitter and read the Bitcoin Standard. And this is where the penny dropped for me. And I realized I needed Bitcoin. I needed as much Bitcoin as I could get. And that pushed me deep into this rabbit hole. Yeah, the Bitcoin Standard really changed my mind and made me get deeply involved.
Yes, I've given that book to a couple of people and I don't think they've read it yet.
Yeah.
But when you do read it, you realize that we have been going along under the Keynesian economics theory for some time. Also, how central banks are not actually federal. And yeah, it's a great lesson. So, did you get into altcoins first?
So it was Bitcoin first, then expanded into altcoins. Maybe I was always a somewhat of a maximalist because I had 70% of my crypto holdings in Bitcoin at all times. And then so it kind of slowly degraded to 70%. Then I think after the Bitcoin standard, it went back up to 100%. So I kind of slowly edged into the altcoins, realized this isn't a good idea, and then straight back to Bitcoin maximalism.
Good for you. Is that because you realize that altcoins have a CEO, have a leader, whereas Bitcoin is completely decentralized? What was your main reason for choosing Bitcoin?
Yeah, so that was definitely one of the main reasons, is that these altcoins are defeating the purpose of why Bitcoin was created, which is decentralized money. They have founders, companies, all these different people backing their projects, where Bitcoin is just, it had an inventor, we don't know who he is, he vanished, and now it's a decentralized network across the planet. That is definitely one of the main reasons. Another good reason, I think, is that the problems these altcoins try and solve are not real problems. They don't exist. It's just a way to pump and dump their coins. For example, one just off the top of my mind, Filecoin. They say they are going to be solving file storage or cloud storage or something like that, and they need a coin for that. And firstly, why do you need a coin for that? I don't understand why you need a coin. I would rather just pay you for file storage, kind of like how you pay Google Cloud or Apple or whatever it may be. That is another thing. I think I saw a podcast recently where someone mentions dental coin. There's no need for that. The problem that blockchain solves is the problem of money, and Bitcoin is the solution. I think Safety has this diagram in his book where it's like, is there a problem with money? And if it's yes, Bitcoin fixes this. If it's no, then it doesn't need a blockchain in the first place. What else? Yeah, I think those are the two main reasons. Also, I guess they aren't as scarce as Bitcoin. Bitcoin is truly scarce. There's only 21 million. These other coins, you don't really know what the total supply is or what it will be in the future. So I would say those are the three fundamental reasons.
Those are good reasons. In South Africa, do you notice that inflation is affecting you?
Yeah, for sure. From quite young, I've been observant of prices and economics and things like this. And I remember very well when I lived back in Durban, seeing that petrol was 7 rand. Now today it's about, I think, 23 rand. So I must have been, I was very young at that time, but I specifically remember that. I remember when the dollar rand was at about 7 as well. Now we're at 17. So yes, I do notice inflation. At one point, I was doing my own inflation index. So with all these different indexes, you're relying on somebody else to pick what is in that index. And for myself, I was actually going to the shop, buying what I needed, and I would record the prices. And then a year or later or a month later, I would check those prices again. And definitely, it's very prevalent. You can see those prices increasing quickly, and you're getting far less with your money than you did in the past. I'm still very young, so I haven't seen the bulk of it, but I already can. I've seen like double prices or triple prices over my lifetime.
I always find it interesting because South African rand has held quite stable to the dollar over the years. But the dollar is also depreciating because in the US, we're printing a lot of money. And maybe in South Africa, they're printing just about the same amount of money. So sometimes it's not so clear to everybody. But for you to find this at such a young age, it's a huge benefit. Do you think
Yeah,
because of Bitcoin, you've developed a low time preference?
100%. Yes, definitely. That is, I think I'm very lucky that Bitcoin was a thing while I was growing up, because when I think about, my parents, they didn't have this savings technology. They had to be investors to maintain their purchasing power. For me, I've just always had Bitcoin. So I already know that I'm very fortunate in that from a young age, from when I started earning money, I've basically my whole life had a good savings technology. And I think Safeteen's book as well really pushed me to have a low time preference. I delay gratification to stack more sats most of the time. And this might be a curse as well, because some people say, you got to live your life a little bit when you're young. So maybe you should spend a bit of Bitcoin. And I'm like, should I spend Bitcoin? I don't know. But yeah, most certainly a low time preference.
At least you're thinking about it, right? You can think about it now because stacking sats is going to be beneficial down the line. But as you say, also living in the moment and enjoying life is important.
Yeah.
For me, where it changes, rather than just go out and buy a new iPhone just because I want the latest, I might wait a little bit, or I won't buy something just for the hell of it because it's probably better to put it in Bitcoin. But experiences and times with family, and that's still important.
Yeah, I was about to say experiences might be worth spending a bit of Bitcoin on good experiences and travel, things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So speaking of that, for a living, you teach people how to custody their Bitcoin better. And on your YouTube channel, you do the same. You have very informative videos on what wallets to use and how to set up nodes. Tell us a little bit about about that.
I remember I was living in Cape Town at the time, and I thought I know Bitcoin well and I understand it well, and I want to teach people Bitcoin. And the key issue with people my age, maybe everyone in the world these days, is we have very short attention spans. We don't want to watch an hour video on how to secure Bitcoin. So what I thought is I'm going to teach people Bitcoin concisely, straight to the point, no BS. And that's where Southern Bitcoiner was born. I would just take a topic that I personally did myself. So, for example, I use Sparrow Wallet. So I've covered Sparrow Wallet in depth. I always verify Sparrow Wallet before I use it. So I believe my first video was how to verify Sparrow Wallet. And I keep it straight, simple, to the point. And from there, it's done pretty well. I think people appreciate the concise nature of those videos, and they prefer a 10-minute video of an hour or 2 hour one. So that's kind of where it started. I wanted to teach people my age about Bitcoin while understanding that they don't have this attention span. So keep it straight to the point. Initially, I was actually going to do shorts like Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. But then I found that the tutorials were doing very well as well. People want straight to the point tutorial. And that's where it all evolved from.
So tell us the difference between a Sparrow wallet and a different wallet. Is Sparrow a desktop wallet? Can it be used on your iPhone?
Yeah, so Sparrow Wallet is desktop only and Bitcoin only. And I think it's widely regarded as one of the best wallets you can use for managing and securing Bitcoin. If you're going to use a wallet and you don't mind a bit of a learning curve, I highly recommend Sparrow. Again, it's only on desktop. You can't have it on your phone. So if you don't have a desktop, unfortunately, you cannot use Sparrow. And the key difference with Sparrow is it doesn't really hide information from you. It doesn't try and make it as easy as possible for you. And as a result, you have way more functionality, and you can do things with your Bitcoin that other wallets might not allow you to do. But at the same time, it does keep it quite simple. It's not overly complex. I think the developers done a great job at balancing complexity while, giving you all this functionality. So Sparrow is a great tool, and all Bitcoin wallets really, they're just ways to interact with Bitcoin's blockchain. So no matter what wallet you use, just essentially doing the same job in different ways. And Sparrow Wallet is, in my opinion, the best way to do that job.
So just for the Gen X's and the boomers that watch this channel, so Sparrow Wallet is on the desktop. So that would be connected to the internet. Whereas if we have a Trezor that is a cold storage, it is temporarily connected to the internet. So, and the other thing about Sparrow is, for example, we're going to talk about paying with Bitcoin in, say, Pick and Pay in South Africa, which is a large grocery store. You would need an online wallet, an on-phone wallet to go and do that. So Sparrow Wallet is a place to store your Bitcoin, as is Trezor. Tell us the difference between those two.
Yeah, so there's two types overall. Overarching, there's two types of Bitcoin wallets. You have a hot wallet and a cold wallet. A hot wallet stores your seed phrase on an internet connected device. Your seed phrase is the password that accesses all your Bitcoin. So at the end of the day, that seed is your Bitcoin essentially. Bitcoin security is all about securing your seed. Hot wallets store your seed, which accesses all your coins, on an internet connected device, which is more prone to hacking. It connects to the internet. As a result, Bitcoin has created something called a hardware wallet, which is a cold wallet, because cold wallets store your seed phrase offline. They don't store your seed on an internet connected device like my computer that I'm talking to you on over here. So cold wallets, the most common type is a hardware wallet, which is a physical device. I don't have one on me now, but it's a physical device that stores your seed phrase for you. Again, your seed phrase is the password that accesses your coins. So that keeps your Bitcoin a lot more secure. Now, one thing to note about Sparrow Wallet is that it can be used as a hot wallet and as a cold wallet. When Sparrow holds your seed phrase for you, then it's a hot wallet because your seed phrase is on an internet connected device. But you can connect your Sparrow to a hardware wallet like a Trezor or a Cold Card or whatever it might be. Then your Sparrow wallet is it's called a view only wallet because you can view the balances, you can see how much Bitcoin you have and your transactions, but you can't spend Bitcoin because it doesn't have your password or your seed phrase. So you would need the hardware wallet to spend Bitcoin or send Bitcoin. So Sparrow can work as both, and that's why Sparrow is such a great tool. It's got so much functionality. If you want to spend Bitcoin on the go, well, let's say I'm traveling and I don't want to bring my hardware wallet with me, I can store my seed in Sparrow. It works perfectly fine. But if I don't want to, have my Bitcoin with me, but I'd like to view my balance while I'm traveling, I leave my hardware wallet at home and I can travel with Sparrow and I can view my transactions, but it can't spend. So I'm a lot more secure. And yeah, that's the key difference between something like a Trezor, which is a hardware wallet storing your seed phrase offline, and any device or any wallet that stores your seed online is a hot wallet.
And basically, you don't want to store your seed phrase online because it's much easier hack.
Correct. Yeah.
And for example, if you went to a store, you would then use a hot wallet, a wallet on your phone, and transfer some of the Bitcoin there.
Yes. Yeah. You don't want to be walking around with a hardware wallet. Exactly. So you would
Right.
take your phone with a seed phrase on. One thing I like to say to people is your hardware wallet is for your long-term hodl stack. Your hot wallet on your phone or your computer is for your short to medium-term spending stack. So that's the key difference.
Yeah, and I really recommend people going to Cole's channel to watch his videos. They are very easy to follow and understand. So let's get back to, do you spend your Bitcoin in South Africa? How available is Bitcoin spending?
Yeah, so Pick and Pay, I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but Pick and Pay accepts Bitcoin. They have over 2,000 stores across the country. It's a huge retailer here. So if you're not in South Africa, it's equivalent to, I've never been to the States, but could you say it's like Walmart? I'm not sure. Maybe you can give us
Maybe
an
not quite as big
analogy.
as Walmart, but it is big.
Yeah.
It's more like a big grocery store here.
Yeah. Anywhere you go in South Africa, there's a Pick and Pay there, basically. And you can buy groceries. There's Pick and Pay clothing and Pick and Pay liquor as well. So you can spend Bitcoin at all these stores across the planet. And that is probably the biggest, I would think South Africa has the most stores in the world per person, perhaps because of Pick and Pay. But you can basically spend Bitcoin anywhere in this country and buy groceries and feed yourself, which is huge. I do spend Bitcoin where I can. So if I'm at Pick and Pay, I will spend Bitcoin. And we do have a few other people here. For example, we have Bromley Farm in the Midlands. And Andre is a farmer there, and he is orange pilled, and he'll sell you meat, eggs, and I'm not sure if it's milk, maybe milk, boerewors and everything for Bitcoin. He accepts Bitcoin. So that's another great way to spend your coins. And there's a few other people. I mean, I feel like South Africa's got one of the highest merchant adoptions out there. There's a car hire place in Cape Town where the guy who owns that actually hosts a meetup at the car studio. So you can hire cars in Cape Town for Bitcoin. And I spend Bitcoin where I can to try and help with the Bitcoin economy. Yeah, and I think we're doing pretty good job here in South Africa.
Yeah, I think you are too. I also heard you have Bitcoin circular economy in Witsand, where they actually almost everybody accepts Bitcoin.
Yeah, that is correct. We've got Bitcoin Vitsant and we've got Bitcoin Ikasi, two little circular economies that have developed on the coast. I think at the conference, the Bitcoin conference, they stated that Bitcoin Vitsant has the highest adoption per person of a small city or small town. I can't remember exactly, but they've got the most merchants per person in the whole world. And Bitcoin Ikasi there's a little township in Mossel Bay where there's a nonprofit there, and the guy who runs that nonprofit started paying his coaches in Bitcoin. So the surfer coaches who teach the kids how to surf are paid in Bitcoin, and they've gone into the township and orange pilled the merchants there to accept Bitcoin. And that is probably like the best way to build an economy, is people receiving payment in Bitcoin and spending it in their little economy. So there are people there who live completely on Bitcoin because, again, they're paid in it and they can spend it. And we've seen quite a lot of adoption there. A few merchants are starting to approach them now and say, how can I accept Bitcoin? In the past, it was, you need to accept Bitcoin. Well, not you need to, but you should accept Bitcoin. Here's the pros and the cons. And now it's kind of growing naturally. And those are the two big ones we have here. There's a few other smaller ones that I'm not really sure how they're doing, but there's definitely growth happening.
Do you think that with the Bitcoin bull market possibly approaching, that some people are a little reluctant to spend their Bitcoin? And also with the volatility of Bitcoin, do you think that stops some people spending?
Yeah, definitely. I think people do not want to spend Bitcoin because they think it will appreciate in value. I also think it will appreciate in value, but I also want to help build a strong economy built on top of Bitcoin. And I think that's how Bitcoiners win. That's how we win this war against central banks and fiat currency, is by building these economies. So because of Bitcoin's volatility and because I think we all understand that it probably will appreciate over time, that it doesn't really make sense to spend Bitcoin. And I say, I don't think you should do that. I think you should rather spend Bitcoin where you can to help build this economy and just replace it. Because if I was going to buy a steak, 200 Rand for $20 for a steak, why not just spend Bitcoin if I can and replace the Bitcoin with the 200 Rand I would have spent anyway, you know? So there's this thing of spending and replacing, which I agree with, or even just spending, you know? I'm not afraid to spend Bitcoin. But yeah, there's two sides to this. Bitcoin will appreciate, and you don't want to spend something that will appreciate. You'd rather spend the fiat, which will depreciate. But the question is, how are we going to build strong economies outside of the control of the people we're fighting against if we're just hodling forever?
I think that's such a great point. And I think it's so important to spend. As you said, for example, I'm coming to South Africa in December. And what I can do is I'm going to go to Pick and Pay to buy groceries, put my fiat money into Bitcoin, use the Bitcoin, and just like you said, replace it. If I bought the Bitcoin now and it goes up 30%, it might be a little bit harder to do. But I can
Yeah.
always, right before the vacation, put it into my wallet ready to spend there, because I too want to support the network that I want to see in the future. And I listen to Jeff Booth a lot. I had him on the channel, and he is a big advocate that in order for Bitcoin to survive, it must become a payments rail. He says that the two systems are incompatible with each other because fiat is increasing forever and Bitcoin is deflationary. It's a system we've never seen. So it's a lot what you are saying. Do you also believe that? Do you believe we're going to have two systems, a fiat system and a Bitcoin? We're obviously going to have them for a while, but do you see Bitcoin coming the dominant system one day?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I'm not really sure. I know we've got very tough competition. The people who can issue money from nothing are fighting against us. They're very powerful, and I think when you can issue money from nothing, you'll do everything in your power to stop people from using money that can't be issued by them. So we've got tough competition, but I just hope that I know that Bitcoin is better money, and I just hope that everyone slowly begins to understand that. I know it will take a long time, but in the end, I really don't know if Bitcoin wins, but that's where my bets are. I've placed my bets accordingly that Bitcoin does win, but I feel like I don't have enough experience in this world. Maybe I need to read more to accurately assess whether or not we do win in the end. Probably Jeff Booth is the better guy to ask.
Well, you starting in the right place. From a young age, you're starting in this new system and you see already that it's better. Tell us
Yeah.
some of the other lessons you've learned from Bitcoin.
One funny experience I had is that I was buying Bitcoin before I was 18 years old. I started stacking small amounts of Bitcoin back then. Then when I turned 18, I could legally open my own bank account in my name. So I went to the bank to get it all set up, and they asked me for my fingerprints, my ID, my home address, biometrics, all this stuff. And I thought for a second, with Bitcoin, all I have to do is generate a seed phrase, and I've got a functioning, effectively a bank account, not a bank account, but a Bitcoin wallet, a bank account in cyberspace. Now, I feel like I'm going back in time. I'm at the bank and they're asking me for all this information. I'm using a much less efficient, outdated technology. So that was quite interesting, is starting with Bitcoin and moving back. It's so clear to me that Bitcoin is better money, freedom money. I think Bitcoin also made me very more libertarian. I value freedom and free markets far more than I than I used to. Well, I feel like I've valued them my whole life because I've known Bitcoin for a very long time. What else has Bitcoin taught me? Definitely low time preference, saving money. I have zero debt. I don't think I will go into debt ever. And those are the main lessons. Is there anything else? It's a lot about computer science and computers. Of course, that's something that comes with it. Bitcoin is completely digital. It runs on computer networks scattered across the planet. Everything you need to do is involves computers. So it's definitely taught me a lot about technology as well and networking.
Why do you think it's important to run your own node?
Yeah, so a Bitcoin node stores all the transactions ever made on Bitcoin's network. And there's thousands of nodes scattered across the planet. They all store a copy of that. And they ensure that nobody can cheat Bitcoin because everybody knows what the truth is. For example, if I send you Bitcoin, every node across the planet knows I sent you Bitcoin. So if somebody tries to lie and say Cole didn't send you Bitcoin, or the Bitcoin actually was sent to them, all the other nodes will reject them and say, no, that's not true. So they store every transaction. The reason you want to run your own node is that you don't have to trust somebody else's node to tell you what the truth is. So every single Bitcoin wallet has to connect to a node, because without that connection, they wouldn't be able to tell who owns what, and they wouldn't be able to tell you what you own. When you run your own node, your node is telling you what you own. You're not trusting anybody else. So that's one of the main benefits of running a node. You're trusting, you're not verifying. Another very important thing is privacy. When your wallet automatically connects to somebody else's Bitcoin node, you have to tell them your Bitcoin addresses and your public keys, and they can see all your transaction history with that information. For example, if you connect to my Bitcoin node, I need your addresses, otherwise I can't tell you what your balance is. You give me your addresses, I can see exactly how many coins you have. It's a privacy risk. If I connect to my own node, I'm only leaking information to myself, not anybody else. So there's a privacy gain there. And the final thing of why you should run a node is you're strengthening Bitcoin. You're adding another brick on this wall of strength because the more people that run Bitcoin, the more decentralized, the less harder it is to attack or take down. And yeah, those are the three reasons to run a node. If you're just getting started in Bitcoin, I wouldn't say you need to run a node, but you should aspire to eventually run one once you're more involved in this space.
Exactly. What I heard from you is all of the nodes secure the network, which differs from, for example, fiat money, which we don't get to decide when they print money. They print money to get themselves out of a jam. They print money for any reason to bail banks out. But with Bitcoin, the nodes also have voting rights, I believe, but it's the nodes are all over the world. So that's where the decentralization comes from, which makes this network run by all of us rather than just one central authority. And that is a big advantage of Bitcoin.
Exactly, yeah. So Bitcoin is run by the people, and it's for the people to use, where the fiat currency is issued by a central body you have to trust. And when you speak about increasing the money supply with Bitcoin, we have predetermined monetary policy. We already know that there's a cap of 21 million. We know exactly how much Bitcoin there will be. Well, approximately how much Bitcoin there will be in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years. We have no idea how many South African rands or US dollars there will be tomorrow or in 6 months. They can change it. There's a central authority that can decide that. Bitcoin is run by thousands of nodes across the planet who all know the rules and they are predetermined. And if anybody wants to change the rules, everybody on this network has to agree to that rule change. So the monetary policy is predetermined, and we're not trusting anyone to tell us what our money is worth.
Well, that orange pilled me, but do you think that would orange pill most people your age? I mentioned to you I want to orange pill my niece. I'm not even sure if she knows what orange pill means. But
Yeah.
tell me, how do you approach this with your friends, and how would you approach somebody your age who's not interested in Bitcoin yet?
Yeah. So I think the first thing they need to understand is that paper currency is fundamentally flawed in that it can be issued from nothing and you have no say in that. So if you want to build a life for yourself, you need to be able to turn your work and your energy into something that preserves its value, not something that can be inflated to nothing. So the thing is with people my age is they aren't really earning money quite yet. So they don't have to worry about that at the moment. But they will one day. So I like to explain to people that I'll take the price of something, for example, bread or petrol. Do you remember when bread was 10 Rand? And they'll say, yeah. Do you know that it's 20 Rand now? And they'll say, yeah, I know that. And I'll say, do you know why? And they'll just come up with some answer, some fiat brainwashing. Yeah, and I'll say, the supply of money, there is more money chasing the same amount of goods in this economy. People are printing money and making your money worth less. So when you work for an hour, let's say you work for 10 hours and you earn just a random number, 1,000 Rand for 10 hours of work. If the government or if the Reserve Bank increases the money supply by 60%, they've effectively stolen 6 of your hours. Inflation is a theft on your time and your work and your energy output. When you start earning money, you'll probably understand this a bit better. But this is for people my age, of course. But if you understand this now, that's even better. And if you start saving in Bitcoin now, that's ideal because the fiat currency that is constantly depreciating, Bitcoin is set in supply So there's an infinite amount of fiat currency chasing a set amount of Bitcoin. So buying Bitcoin now is a great long-term choice for you because nobody can steal your energy, your time, and your work. So you want to convert your time and energy into something that is set in supply and cannot be stolen from you. Otherwise, you're working for someone else without even realizing it. And that's probably my favorite way to describe it, is that inflation is a theft on your time. Bitcoin prevents that because it cannot be issued from nothing. It's set in supply.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good way. And one other thing to remind people is that your income is not going to go up at the same pace as they print money. And this is what many people feel it, but they don't connect the two. And I'm amazed how, far along you are at such a young age, and even getting your own education, getting a job in Bitcoin. How wonderful. You are walking the walk and as well as talking the talk. So
Yeah,
tell
we
us
live in
what.
an age of information. Everything, all this information out there is free nowadays. So you can learn about Bitcoin on the internet, on your computer, absolutely free.
Yeah, and conventional study is not for everybody. Sure, if you want to be a doctor or if you want to be a lawyer, go and get the
Yeah,
education. But there are other methods, and getting in Bitcoin early is a wonderful way to do what you love.
yeah, exactly.
So what does freedom mean to you?
Freedom, I guess, being able to do things without restrictions from other people. So, for example, in the context of Bitcoin, freedom means I can send you money across the planet right now if I wanted to, and nobody can stop that transaction. If I wanted to send that to you through the fiat system, maybe I'm free to do that, but it would be very difficult. And they might restrict my freedom if they do not like that transaction. So freedom, I guess, is the ability to do what you want without anybody stopping you. And Bitcoin is freedom money because no one can tell you what to do with your Bitcoin and nobody can steal it from you via inflation. Bitcoin is freedom money because I can send it anywhere in the world at any point. No one can stop it. And because I can take true ownership of it and it's very difficult to seize. If I have money in a bank, it's a lot easier to take that money than if I have a multi-sig setup with one seed phrase in Switzerland and one in Australia and one in South Africa. It's very, very difficult to seize that. So yeah,
I love
Bitcoin is
that.
freedom money.
Bitcoin is freedom money.
Yeah.
That is words to live by. So besides Bitcoin, what are you passionate about?
Bitcoin's the main thing. I love Bitcoin. What else? I like to train a lot every single day. I'll go either train martial arts, boxing, or go to the gym. So that's something I like to do. Keep myself in shape and my mind sharp. I don't know if I'm passionate about it or if I think it's something I just have to do. I think I need to go to the gym every day because it's just something I must do, not necessarily I'm passionate about it. Other than that, I don't know. I think Bitcoin's my main passion, freedom, money, and learning, I guess, constantly learning. Right now, I'm learning how to code and program. So maybe that develops into a new passion of mine is building technology that other people find useful.
Well, that's wonderful. Keep going with your channel.
Yeah.
It's so informative, and we love to see young Bitcoiners get it so early and help us learn. So thanks so much for being on the
Yeah.
show, Cole. And tell us where people can find you.
Yeah. So on Twitter, I'm at Cole, TU. And then YouTube is Southern Bitcoiner. I also have southernbitcoiner.com, which is a blog where I kind of just put the YouTube videos on and text as well. So some people prefer to read about Bitcoin. Some people prefer to see how to do something. So I've got those two. Then I also help people with Bitcoin one-on-one, where if they watch a YouTube video but aren't entirely sure what to do or entirely sure how to secure their Bitcoin, you can contact me and I will help you one-on-one do whatever that might be, setting up a cold card or UTXO management running a node. And that is on secusats.com. Secure Sats was taken, so I settled with Secusats, SECU Sats.com. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Cool. Well, I might be contacting you in December.
Yeah.
UTXO management's a whole nother level.
Yeah. Bitcoin isn't easy. Can be confusing, and Bitcoin is your responsibility, right? That's a good thing and a bad thing. Freedom money comes with responsibility, and you've got to do things right.
Yes, and you absolutely can learn. You
Yeah.
absolutely can learn. I've learned. I haven't taken it to your level, but like you mentioned, we can just keep learning a little bit at a time. So
Yeah, exactly.
thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Cheers, everyone.